Hello, and welcome back. So far we've looked at functions that if you would go ahead and graph them, um, they would either be a function that was just continuous the whole time, and then we had a point where we said, where the limit approaches, and then we would go from either side and we would find where the limit approaches. Or we had functions that were like they were continuous, but then they had holes in them where the value was different, and then things like that. And then we approached it from either side, and we still found a limit, even though it wasn't continuous at the point, it was continuous around the point. But what happens? Let me erase this. What happens if we were given a function, or if we had a function, and there are lots of these functions in real life, which looked like this? Let's say this was 1, this was 2, this was 3, and this was 1, this was 2, and this was 3. And we had a function we had a piecewise function, is what these are called, that looked like this. And that point is not included. So, what if we were to find, let's say, we were looking for the limit as x approaches 1 of this function. Let's just call it f of x, because I don't want to write it out. Well, if I approach 1 from this side on the function, my limit would be 1. But if I approached it from this side, my limit would be 2. So I'm going to introduce you. This is a concept that came about by functions like these, and they were called one-sided limits. And the way we write these is that we write the limit as x approaches 1 from the negative side, so it's a little minus sign up there, of this function. And that, when I say from the minus side, I mean from this side, coming from the negative side. I know sometimes it gets confusing because you're not going towards the negative side, you're coming from the negative side. So this, the limit as x approaches 1 from the negative side of this function would be 1. But the limit as x approaches 1 from the positive side, and you put a little plus up there to show from the positive side, that's this side of this function that we call f of x, equals 2. So if you were asked what's the limit of this function, you would say the limit of this function does not exist. And in short, we write dne if it does not exist, or you can write it out if you want. But so the formal definition, when we just say limit, we implicitly mean that it's a limit from both sides. It's a two-sided limit. But so the limit does exist for this equation if we take a one-sided limit, and the one-sided limits are different. So a two-sided limit, or a limit, can only exist if both the left-sided limit coming from left side and the right-sided limit coming from the positive side are both the same number. And since these two are not the same, don't tend towards the same number, tend towards the same point, we would say that the limit of this function does not exist.